And then I said, because I was next to the camera and we were working handheld at that moment, I said to Agnes or Inga sitting on the floor, the younger sister, just get into bed and hug her. And she got up and they hug and the camera moves back and she says, I love you. And the older sister, this is improvised, and the older sister says, me too. I love you too. Just like the character would have said it, that the caution of saying such a kind of tender and honest thing.
Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. In this episode, two sisters reconnect with their estranged father in director Joachim Trier's comedic drama, Sentimental Value, which was screened as part of the DGA's Global Cinema series. The film tells the story of Gustav, a once-renowned film director looking to make a comeback with his next feature. When his stage actress daughter turns down the lead role in the film, he casts a Hollywood star instead, opening old wounds that force them to face their relationship and the fragile bonds that unite them. In addition to Sentimental Value, Trier's other directorial credits include the feature films The Worst Person in the World, The Other Munch, Thelma, Louder Than Bombs, Reprise, and Oslo, August 31st. Following a screening of the film at the DGA Theater in New York, Trier spoke with director Frank Oz about filming Sentimental Value. Listen on for their spoiler-filled conversation.
Well, the first thing I want to say is I've never seen it in the credits. I love thanking the family of the cast and crew, and I love thanking the extras. Nobody ever does that.
Really?
No.
We should all do that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thanks for mentioning that. I'm third generation filmmaker. My grandfather was a filmmaker. My parents worked in films. I know how it is to have people that are doing that thing and they're not at home. So
I started out doing extra to learn, and you're treated like shit, you know? I'm going to talk about, because at DGA, I'm going to get into granular stuff, craft stuff, but a few things about the movie first. First of all, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful, full, rich movie. And I just want to tell you a couple of things that I love.
Thank you.
You know, part of our job, I think, is to give exposition invisibly, as compellingly, as entertainingly as possible. You drew in the first part, right? You did a beautiful job with the house, and you did a brilliant job with the stage fright. All that exposition, and we didn't know what was happening. It was just beautiful, you know, and other things too. But that really struck me, and I think one of my favorite things about the film was what's not said. You know, especially in your main actress, Renetta, there's always more behind the eyes, but throughout the whole film, the fullness of what's not said is beautiful. So that's what I want to tell you I love.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so I understand you and the screenwriter are both here. There's a screenwriter here also.
Yeah. My dear friend and co-writer, Eskil is over there.
Now, can you tell me the beginning with him?
What happens? No, it's usually we meet in a room and we have a very structured set of months where we meet every morning, drink coffee, first spin ourselves into a state of anxiety that we'll never be able to create anything else again. And through that anxiety, we try to connect with what we're feeling at the moment. We're terribly unprofessional in the sense that we don't develop a lot of things. We've written together 6 screenplays, and I've directed those 6 films. And Eskil has a career on its own as a wonderful director that he is, but we've actually been able to do one thing at a time. It's slow, but it feels worthwhile. And it's my job to try to accept that this is something then have to leave Eskil, who's kind of my dear friend and collaborator, and go and work with the rest of the team for a couple of years. And it has to be something we feel is worthwhile thematically and filmically. And I'll say one more thing. We grew up being film fans. So since our late teens, we went to the movies together, went to the video store when they were around, and walked around and looked at all the films and talked. And that's one foot in the writing room, is our fascination for the form of cinema and just being geeky about it. The other foot is planted in a sense of life and character, I think. Stuff that we care about, people we see. Why is normal life actually, if you look below the surface, full of drama and devastation and humor and all that stuff? So it's the mix between film geekiness and life, I think, that kind of sifts into the room after a while.
Well, let me get geeky in this movie. You and you both went into the room.
Both what?
You both went into the room, had coffee.
Yeah.
And somehow the dust settled on this particular story.
Yes.
What happened that the dust settled somehow on the first day or second day or third day? What was it?
I think it was a combination of a few different things. We are both fathers working in movies. So the idea of family and life-work balance, I think you say in the American vernacular, that's something that's on our mind a lot. But also we were interested in being in the middle of life. I guess we are now, Eskil, sorry. We have kids. We also still have our parents alive, and we're realizing how quick it all goes. And there's something about this story of a family and reconciliation and being grown children of someone and realizing that you have to figure out what you need to say before it's over, kind of thing. I think that's one part of it. But then there were many conceptual scenes, the idea of a house as a character, and how, and I really take your compliment to heart, because we are doing, and for those who haven't seen the film, you know, that might be listening to what we're saying here now, there's this essay in the beginning where Nora, the oldest daughter, made an essay when she was 12 about how the house looks back at people. And we imagined, you know, we all need a stage for our memories. And very often that is the childhood home or a place. I think if we all think back at where we grew up, whether it's several apartments or a house, or I don't know how constant people lived, you know, that's an individual experience, but we will have these experiences of coming through the front door and seeing joy or seeing sadness in our house, and different seasons and time moving and all of that. You know, how could we thematically set that up to talk about family?
And when you guys write, is it both go off and do scenes? You both do it together? You both do a draft? How does that process work?
It's a mixture of many things. It's many stupid ideas that don't get in the script, and then we create a structure together and the characters together, and then Eskil writes it out and I edit towards the end. So out of a year, I think we spend most of the time figuring out the scenes and the dialogue to talking, but then Eskil does a writing job at the end, which is very important, and he elevates and adds dialogues that we didn't come up with, and that's a very important part of the process.
Do you end up with a shooting script, or do you end up with a one or two or three or four drafts on and on?
Yeah, we do several drafts. And then what we do is I do rehearsals with actors. So I ask them, and also the producers, to pay for rehearsals. I'm very grateful for that time. And then we film all of that. And then I show that material to Eskil, and we do another redraft of the script that becomes a shooting script after we've done rehearsals.
Okay, tell me about that. So how far ahead of shooting do you do those rehearsals, which are the first rehearsals, not the shooting script rehearsals, right?
Yeah. So these rehearsals we do in the 6 weeks leading up to the shoot. I'm a big planner. We block and do floor plans of everything, all the shots. I hang out at locations and with my team and the cinematographer Casper Tuxen and often the production designers and you know, a whole team. We make the plan so that we can get rid of it on the day, where we have that kind
exactly.
of. Yeah,
exactly.
So a part of that is then I like to spend half days in rehearsals, not to spend the energy of the actors and also to trigger them to go home and think and do their homework. And ultimately, they're much better at this than I am. So, leave space. And then I go with a team and we block.
So you have 6 weeks rehearsal beforehand to feed you, not 6 weeks,
really,
rather. Rehearsal before.
It's a day here and there in 6 weeks. So I think for this one, perhaps altogether with everyone, a period of 4 weeks. But I also do rehearsals with the children. I do rehearsals with small parts day players so that they know me, and we hang out. And I think rehearsals is mostly about creating trust and that they see that I'm I don't quite know what I'm doing and I need their help.
So when you actually start shooting on the first day, the last rehearsals you had were weeks before.
A couple of weeks before, maybe. It's good to have that leeway right before the shoot. There's always like millions of crises, aren't there? And they need to solve.
Yeah, yeah. And did you or do you ever do table reads?
Never. I've never done that.
Now tell me why.
Because I don't want to force I'm sure it's wonderful for other people, but I don't want to force the actors to sit and take responsibility for the whole dramaturgy. We do scenes by scenes, and we let them get deep into character in that moment and find dynamics and do a little bit of improv around the text, and then that scene's done and we move to the next. And I don't want the whole thing.
And when you both have created this movie on paper, and we know on paper and on stage are two different things, but have you shot the movie in your head already?
Not at all. I do the blocking, and I have some ideas already in the writing room about certain things, but they might change. You know how it is. Sometimes you want to find locations that are very specific to the shots you need. Maybe because Eskil and I write in Oslo, we can go to that place and talk about it already in the writing process. But then you also have to come up with a lot of stuff, and then you realize on the day, and 2 weeks into the shoot, you know much more about what you want than the first day, don't you? So you develop and you do process.
And as far as the house goes, was any of it in studio or all in, or did you find the house and shoot in there?
It's rather complicated. It's because we're moving through different time zones. We have a house, and that accounts for all the shooting that's done in sort of present day, or at least the last 10 years of the story. But we also go back 120 years. We do it 1918, 1925, and so forth up until the 90s. And those parts we had to build a replica in a studio. And we used VP, which is this, of course, new technology where you can actually create digitally researched material outside of the windows of how it looked. And we could do research. Jørgen Stangeby Larsen, the production designer, did research on what were the buildings outside like in 1946, right after the war. Like, how did they look, And we could create that digitally and have it in the studio. So I thought that was interesting, do time periods. And then we moved between the studio and the real house to make the schedule work.
Yeah, the life of the house is beautiful, where the grandfather died, and then the ended up showing in that same room. There was a fight, the door slammed. It's beautiful. It was wonderful, layered. Are all these scenes written in the movie? Or did you find a few, let's just do this on the day? Hey, why don't you guys do this and we'll try it?
I think the scenes are mostly written, but within them, of course, there's space for something. I think a wonderful thing about Eskil Vogt, again, the co-writer here, and he's also a director, so he knows sometimes we write a little extra, so we can try to create a moment, and we know we might not need it quite, but then again, that could turn out, wonderfully. Some of the moments in this film you've seen are also improvised, a few here and there. Actors come up with wonderful things.
The reason I ask is I find these little things that I love so much. There's a little scene where the father and the daughter are smoking outside. They're not saying anything. And I love that scene.
Oh, thank you. No, but
That's what I ask for.
Oh, yeah, no, that was filled with some dialogue and intention, and I guess what we do is we get rid of dialogue a lot.
The smart actors try to avoid dialogue, right?
No, yeah, absolutely. And when I'm working with people like Renata Ransve and Stellan Skarsgård in the specific scene you're mentioning, they express so much. I don't need any words there.
Yeah. Do you? When your movies, do you use Video Village?
No. So we have that on set, and the script supervisor sits there, and I can always go back there and get a kind of a second opinion or a point of view of a little bit outside the bubble, but I'm in the bubble. I'm sitting next to Casper Tuxen, the DP, or moving next to him with a handheld monitor, and I'm always looking at the actors because I believe in, sorry for sounding psychoanalytical, but I believe in transference. I feel what they feel, and I can only see that with my eye, and that's closer to what the lens sees than the video, in my opinion. And we also shoot on 35, and I'm a bit old school.
I love it. Can you transfer to Dig for editing?
Sure. Yeah, we do.
And did you edit as you shot, or did you edit afterwards?
Yes. Another person I worked with on 6 feature films, and including some of the shorts that Eskil and I did previous, is Olivier Bugge-Coté, the wonderful Danish-French editor he's a very important collaborator in this. And he edits continually through the shoot, and we meet after that, and then I spend every day with him until we lock it. And he has a great eye for performance and the tonal differences of performances, so that he can talk to me about creating one mood. Isn't that the challenge a lot of the time, to find the right tone, the mood of the piece?
Tone is everything.
Yeah, I think so too.
Tone and rhythm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with editing, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, yeah.
Yeah. I learn every movie I do. I learn. I make so many mistakes. What did you learn from this movie?
Oh, a lot of things, man. I'm glad we had time to explore scenes properly. I think that's a good thing. But I also think that to work with digital effects inside scenes while doing them is tricky, because it takes time. And I really realized that I'm used to working, and I think this will be more and more what we have to deal with in our craft, is that a lot of technical things will show up while we're shooting. If there's a camera and an actor and a room, I can always kind of tweak my way out of a tricky day if it runs late. With digital effects that are actually on screens in some of the scenes, it was a new situation for me.
Yeah. When the days were rough and you thought, "Oh Christ, I'm not getting anything I like. What's going on?" and you had all these obstacles, what drove you forward?
It's always the actors. It's that we have a lot of wonderful actors, and I feel a kind of camaraderie and some solidarity. So you forget yourself because you focus on what they do, and that's very inspiring. I find that's it.
And what is it you love about directing?
I love everything about it. I've shot since I was a kid. You know, before I could write, I shot on Super 8 and video, and I have this anxiety that they won't let me do it anymore or something. So no, I love it. I love to come in the morning on set. I love the team. I'm not a solo player. I could never write alone. I'm happy with the coffee with Eskil. I'm happy in the editing room, but I really also love the set, and I love to cast a good team. And I say to them, please, when the actors are out, let's change tires on the Formula One car and be really quick so that we can get the most time with the actors. And I feel they're my co-directors, really. Like, I love my team.
Do you if you're 35, you work with mags all the time. You got to change mags. How do you feel about that compared to the video?
I don't think it's a problem. We shoot big mags sometimes, then you have 9 minutes. That's fine. And we have a great camera team. They know how to do it quick, and it gives me a moment to breathe with the actors and stuff. So I think it's all about creating that flow and rhythm. I don't see it as a problem at all. And I think that that shooting on film, and I don't mean to be snobbish about it, honestly, because I know a lot of young, wonderful filmmakers that can't afford to shoot in 35, and I feel like an ass sitting saying, "Oh, you have to do it this way." There's many, many wonderful ways of making movies, but I have the luxury, and I feel very privileged that I'm allowed to continue to shoot on film, and it creates, for me at least, and the team I work with, a very specific focus on when the take happens. Again, sitting next to the camera. Again, it's like a purring cat inside the mag, and you just feel, okay, this is important. And it comes out magic. It's different than what you saw and yet the same. Isn't it interesting?
I love changing mags.
Yeah, isn't it?
Absolutely. Is there anything you don't like about directing?
Yeah, many things. Way to begin, my friend. No, I get tired of myself because you become so important by the role you're given, and you have to fight every inch all the time to push it to that place, and then people start seeing you as that person. That demanding.
Tell us more about that.
No, but it's like on the best days, everyone knows what they're doing. We're doing it together. On the tricky days, I got to remind and push and hopefully inspire people. And it's those meetings when everyone wants it to be done a little bit simpler, but you have a gut feeling that you can't intellectualize, that you got to keep pushing and you have to be the difficult person. And no one wants to be that person, you know? So, but I do feel it's collaborative. I don't feel like, I think the more films I do, the less I have to feel like that ass. And I think that's a great thing. And I also think another tricky thing is to try to talk about it afterwards, because you know that you spend so much time creating a sense of interpretational absence so that the audience could feel something. And then you're scared that you're taking everyone's work, all the wonderful people you collaborated with, all the actors and everyone else, and you're kind of explaining it simpler by trying to sell the film. And I think that's the magic of trying to, I enjoyed this conversation because you're asking Craft's question. We can kind of
love Craft.
Talk, but then we can talk about something specific without me having to explain my work.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I love craft work. What about previews? Do you do any with citizens or just friends?
Both. Yeah, a lot. I'm lucky. I've always had Final Cut, which makes me really interested in showing it to a lot of people over a long period of time. And I even do like tests, sheets that they fill in. It's not all about liking, but it's about understanding what they understand and what they don't understand. And you don't want them to understand too much either, because it lacks a potential for interpretation, right? So.
When you hire your keys, your first, your PD, your whatever, what's the process of hiring, for instance, a first? What's your process?
I think that's maybe one of the most important collaborators I have. And you'll laugh now, but I kind of had three firsts on this one.
You had three firsts?
Yeah, well, I had this, my second, Lars Thomas, who's also one of the co-producers, who's kind of my assistant, and he helps me do the floor plans together with the first, and then he kind of goes off set and anticipates. And then he comes on set during lunch and talks to me. So he's kind of anticipating stuff that needs to be fixed. And then he can come on set if it's a tricky day and support. Like we're in a theater, for example, and we have a full house of 700 extras, and they're there for almost 12 hours. So then we also have another first, who's also one of the co-producers, who come and, he's charming and he keeps people happy. And then we have a first who's perhaps technically the first, who stands next to the camera and makes sure that things move forward technically.
Okay, so he moves the floor.
Yeah, she
moves the floor.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So she moves the floor, but the two others are kind of in and out. And then suddenly you change country. You shoot in France, and we have another first who's very gifted there, but they don't know the team, and then we need some support. So I think it's a smart system that we did on this one. It's a bit of a special film in that sense.
That's a very special film.
But your question is relevant. It's very important with the first.
Oh, yeah.
If anyone young is listening out there, that's the person.
Yeah. We have 5 minutes, and I know you'd like to open up to the audience. Any questions in the audience? The question is, there were a couple of occasions where the actors improvised. Could he describe that? I think I did that very well, don't you?
Perfect. Thank you both. Good question. Yeah, an example. And now if people are listening to this and haven't seen the film, I'm sharing something with you that have seen it. So the two sisters have read the script together in Nora's apartment, and they're sitting by the bed, and they're kind of reconciling the fact that maybe the father, who's such a difficult person, have seen Nora a bit more through writing this script. And they're having this conversation when Nora is lying on the bed and Agnes is sitting next to her, and they're talking about how come we turned out so different. And Agnes says, it's because I had you. All of that is written, but there's a moment when I'm sitting next to them, and I'm actually, I know this sounds maybe silly, but I'm trusting my colleagues here to have had similar experiences, that you feel it. You know, I was weeping with them because you feel the intimacy of the moment, and the only way to measure whether you got it or not is to actually feel it with them. And then I said, because I was next to the camera and we were working handheld at that moment, I said to Agnes or Inga sitting on the floor, the younger sister, just get into bed and hug her. And she got up and they hug, and the camera moves back, and she says, I love you. And the older sister, this is improvised, and the older sister says, which is perfect, she says, me too. I love you too. Just like the character would have said it. The caution of saying such a kind of tender and honest thing straight. And I think Eskil and I, maybe we would, I don't know if you agree, man, but we would have been a little bit shy writing that because it seems so explicit and subtextual somehow. But actually, when the actors just did that, it felt very honest and true, and they were in the moment. So we could keep it. We were lucky, and they gave that to us and to the film.
I think you had a question there. Was there something essential in the first draft that didn't appear in the movie? Was there something in the edit of the film, similarly the writing, that you discovered or didn't use?
Yeah, thank you. Very good questions. I think to start with a second, yes, the restructuring of a film I always find to be radical after a while. And we had a 3-hour cut of this film that now is about 2 hours, 10 minutes. And the 3-hour cut was interesting and good, but scenes start stepping each other on the feet. You know, like they block each other. There's a lack of purity of emotion or there's something. So there were a lot of scenes that were really great, I thought, that we'd written. Some very explicit scenes with the father saying certain things, but we didn't need it at the end of the day because the actors are good, and I trust the audience to interpret it properly. There's also bits that that were in the script to kind of go to the first part of your question. So Gustav Borg, the director in the film, made some cool films, and it allowed me to try to be a better director than I am by doing these complicated one-ers. And there was a couple of scenes there that I thought I'm really proud of my team and me, like no edits and complicated things with children and running. And, you know, we built a big rock that a child climbs on, and it looked a bit Tarkovsky. And I was like, wow, am I doing it? You know, but it just stopped the story. So I had to take it out. So the sacrifices always, right? Yeah.
I got the word that we have to stop. So beautiful film, all of you here. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to another DGA Q&A. The Director's Cut is available wherever you listen to podcasts. And please share, subscribe, rate, and review. We'd love to hear your feedback, and you can help fellow film buffs find the show. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America